She said, hey, they have great guards. So you got Angel Reese getting to the podium insinuating, hey, man, Caitlin Clark is great. We didn't do good in the first half. She was loading up them threes. Us post players, we was a little bit late coming up, and you can't be late. Her, Kelsey, but specifically for the most part, Kelsey didn't do much of nothing. Caitlin Clark was carrying this team. She was on a heater in the first half. Angel Reese being somewhat complimentary of Caitlin Clark. I respect this answer. Okay, I'm a bit shocked.
The final score told one story. The reaction afterward told an even bigger one. After the Atlanta Dream dismantled the Indiana Fever for the second straight game, all eyes turned toward Angel Reese and what she would say about Caitlin Clark. The expectation was obvious. Whenever Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are connected to the same headline, people expect tension, rivalry, controversy, and another chapter in one of basketball's most talked about storylines. But what happened after Atlanta's dominant victory revealed something far more interesting. Because while the Indiana Fever were struggling to stop anyone defensively, while the Atlanta Dream were controlling the paint, controlling transition, and controlling the momentum of the game, Angel Reese was watching Caitlin Clark carry an enormous burden. The Fever were overwhelmed. The Dream were sharper. The Dream were tougher. And Angel Reese knew exactly where the game changed. This wasn't about social media. This wasn't about old rivalries. This was about basketball. The Atlanta Dream had just embarrassed the Indiana Fever by turning a competitive contest into a statement victory. Angel Reese had delivered another strong performance. Atlanta's frontcourt imposed its will. Their defensive adjustments completely changed the game, yet somehow the conversation still circled back to Caitlin Clark. And when Angel Reese finally addressed what happened, she delivered an answer that caught many people off guard, not because she attacked Caitlin Clark, but because she acknowledged exactly how dangerous Caitlin Clark had been before Atlanta figured everything out. That admission revealed the real story hidden behind this blowout, a story about adjustments, a story about execution, and a story about why the Atlanta Dream suddenly look like a legitimate threat while the Indiana Fever are searching for answers. The first major turning point came when Angel Reese broke down Atlanta's defensive strategy.
Angel, speaking of defensively, what changed for you guys in the second half on defense? I mean, you give up 59 points in the first half, 37 in the second.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, we start from our posts, just being able to make sure we're up on the screen because, I mean, they have great guards and them getting downhill is to their advantage. And we wanted to make sure we were stopping that. And I think me and Nas and Medina, when she came in, did a good job making sure that we contained them and got back to our man so Ryan, JC, and Leash could get back. So I think it was just
What stands out immediately is how Angel Reese described the challenge of defending Caitlin Clark. Angel Reese wasn't talking about a player who struggled all game. Angel Reese wasn't talking about someone Atlanta ignored. Angel Reese was talking about a player capable of destroying a defense if even one rotation arrives late. That's important, because in the first half, Caitlin Clark was finding space. Caitlin Clark was getting downhill. Caitlin Clark was generating offense, and Atlanta knew something had to change. The adjustment wasn't random. Angel Reese specifically highlighted the responsibility of Atlanta's post players. The Dream recognized that allowing Caitlin Clark to turn the corner was creating opportunities. Once Atlanta tightened those coverages and became more aggressive at the point of attack, everything shifted. The numbers on the scoreboard reflected it. The confidence of the Indiana Fever started disappearing. Possessions became harder, passing lanes shrank, transition opportunities vanished. Meanwhile, Angel Reese and the Dream kept applying pressure. What made this sequence so significant was that Angel Reese essentially revealed the blueprint. Atlanta didn't stop Caitlin Clark by focusing on one defender. Atlanta stopped Caitlin Clark through collective discipline. Every rotation mattered. Every screen coverage mattered. Every recovery mattered. That level of detail is why championship teams win games in June and contend for titles later in the season. For the Indiana Fever, however, the loss exposed a larger issue. When Caitlin Clark gets hot, Indiana can compete with almost anyone. When opponents successfully disrupt Caitlin Clark's rhythm, the offensive structure suddenly becomes far less predictable. Angel Reese and Atlanta exposed that weakness over 2 consecutive victories. And that's why these games felt bigger than just 2 losses. They felt like a warning sign. The psychological battle surrounding Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese has always fascinated basketball fans, but this game revealed a different side of that dynamic.
Yeah, I just try to use my quickness and my speed to my advantage, and understanding the tendencies of who I'm guarding, knowing that Clark wants to go right, knowing that Mitchell wants to go left, and just staying solid on defense. and just pick and choosing my moments when I can either strike or find opportunities to steal the ball. So just trying to make sure I know whoever I'm guarding, I know their tendencies, and then using my speed and my quickness to my advantage.
Hi, ladies.
Hey, girl.
Hey.
Listen carefully to what Atlanta's players were discussing. Preparation, tendencies, scouting, discipline. The Dream weren't approaching Caitlin Clark emotionally. They were approaching Caitlin Clark scientifically. They studied where Caitlin Clark prefers to attack. They studied how Caitlin Clark creates separation. They studied the angles Caitlin Clark uses to manipulate defenses. That's what elite teams do, and it reminds many longtime observers of previous eras in professional basketball. Historically, great offensive players force opponents to create specialized game plans. The greatest scorers attract extra defenders. The greatest playmakers force defensive adjustments. The greatest stars become the center of every scouting report. That's exactly where Caitlin Clark currently finds herself. Every opponent enters the arena determined to slow Caitlin Clark first. Everything else comes second. Angel Reese understands this. The Dream understand this. That's why Atlanta looked prepared for every action. While Caitlin Clark was fighting through traps, pressure, and physical defense, Atlanta stayed committed to its structure. Meanwhile, Angel Reese looked increasingly comfortable within Atlanta's system. That comfort level matters. Confidence creates aggression. Aggression creates physicality. Physicality creates dominance. And Atlanta displayed all three. The contrast between the teams became impossible to ignore. Angel Reese looked supported by a roster fully committed to a shared identity. Caitlin Clark often appeared responsible for generating momentum whenever Indiana needed a spark. That's an exhausting responsibility for any star player, especially against a defense that has spent days preparing specifically for you. The result was a second-half collapse that felt familiar, not because Caitlin Clark wasn't competing, but because Atlanta's collective execution kept winning possession after possession. And Angel Reese was right in the middle of it. The biggest consequence of this game may not appear in the standings immediately. It may appear in the future perception of both franchises.
Yeah. Carl really emphasized on the Thunder Twins, me and Nas, making sure inside that we dominate, making sure one is high and one is low. Obviously, first quarter, nobody was high. So Nas is able to knock her threes down, and they leave Nas open a lot of times, which isn't very smart. And I think she dominated so much tonight. And then it came out in the second half, and I was able to do it. So I think it just goes to what we pay attention to in film. And every single day, we try to figure out ways to win. And I think Nas.
Angel Reese highlighted something crucial. Atlanta has an identity. They know who they are, they know how they want to play, they know where their advantages exist, and every player appears committed to maximizing those strengths. The Dream dominated inside. The Dream controlled pace. The Dream converted opportunities. The Dream trusted one another. That formula creates long-term success. For Indiana, the questions are becoming louder. Can Caitlin Clark continue carrying such a massive offensive load? Can Indiana consistently generate offense when defenses focus entirely on Caitlin Clark? Can the Fever develop the kind of physical identity Atlanta displayed? Those questions matter because expectations are different now. Caitlin Clark isn't viewed as a future star anymore. Caitlin Clark is viewed as a franchise centerpiece right now. Every loss gets examined. Every adjustment gets scrutinized. Every coaching decision gets analyzed. Meanwhile, Angel Reese and Atlanta are quietly building momentum. Angel Reese is producing. Atlanta's supporting cast is thriving. The chemistry appears genuine. And perhaps most importantly, the Dream are developing confidence. Confidence changes everything in professional sports. A talented team becomes dangerous when it starts expecting to win. That's exactly where Atlanta appears to be heading. If Angel Reese continues playing at this level and Atlanta continues defending this way, the rest of the league will have to take notice. Because this wasn't just another victory. This looked like a team announcing its arrival. And unfortunately for Indiana, Caitlin Clark happened to be standing on the other side of that announcement.